But who can get up the man in the tomb? Nobody but one with a master grip. Nobody but one with a lion's paw. The Bible said there's a lion asleep in Judah. Who will wake him? No pussycat can wake up a lion. And this pussycat leadership will never wake the black man up. You're too weak in your effort to free our people from the hand of their oppressor.
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum salam. I think I got my shoes on. Yeah.
Shoes are on and fully laced.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes you put that start button on a little too quick. You know what I mean? Catch me stretching and stuff.
Right.
Action.
Wait, that's too soon.
Right.
What's going on, man?
Nothing much, my brother. Everything is good. All praise is due to Allah.
Cool.
You know what I
Alhamdulillah.
mean? Just trying to exercise his creativity. The minister said he's looking for thinking men. You know, and he wants creative followers, right?
Right.
So, see, when you exercise your creativity, you're exercising Allah that's inside you. So, we're going to start off in His name, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent and Merciful. We thank Allah for coming in the person of Master Farah Muhammad, appearing to us in the person of Master Farah Muhammad, and raising up the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as His exalted Christ. And we further thank him for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in our midst today, guiding us today the way that Allah would have us be guided into all truth. So it's in their names that we greet you, the viewers and listeners, in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Praise be to Allah.
Let's get it on, brother.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
You gonna beat me up today? We gonna have a nice interview or what?
I might have to throw the sink at you today.
See, okay. You're gonna have to call on the God, brother. I'm telling you, brother. Let me tell you something. It's funny because they say with friends like this,
Who did this?
they gotta look and say, man, are they tight? You be throwing everything you got, brother. It's all good because guess what? That's what they would do.
Right.
So I really appreciate your questions, brother. Go ahead and throw on.
Praise be to
You
Allah.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
Get your sync out and everything.
Okay. Let's dig into it.
Yes, sir.
Man, one of the most important things anyone can think about is the future. We were talking about the future.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
So to be able to have an idea of the future is, you know, one will have to have a vision. Your mind, well, like you just said, being a thinking man or a thinking woman.
Deep.
Yeah. Necessary to be able to see what's coming.
You know what's funny about the future? You have to understand the present.
Okay.
And a lot of times I've learned from just watching other believers how we mix up and misinterpret what humility is. We believe that humility is when you just totally overlook yourself. And you don't even, how you going to improve on self and you don't know where self is? Where are you? You got to find yourself before you can improve on self. And if you're constantly preoccupied with somebody else, even if it's our leader, if you live your life watching the leader, but you can't connect the leader to yourself, I've learned that that's how religious people become zealots, and then hypocrites, you know, and then gone. Enemies. Look at that. Zealot, hypocrite, enemy. Gone. See? That's because you never learned the value of who you are. So how are you going to plan for the future and you're not even in your own present? You don't know who you are today. So I'm pretty sure if you don't know who you are right now, you're not going to know who you are tomorrow.
Wow.
If you can't improve on yourself, because you can't improve on a stranger, a lot of us become strangers to our own selves when we follow God's man. You know, you start naming yourself after God's man. I'm a Christian. I'm a Buddhist. You know? I'm a Zoroastrianism man. Named after Zoroaster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're a disaster, is really what you are, when you don't know yourself. Because you know we don't make fun of religion. But when you don't know yourself, you're a disaster. So I'm thankful to Allah that even though I would consider myself a humble person, because I've been humbled. You know what humbles you is when you make mistakes.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
In life.
Yep.
You know, and
Yep.
I've had my share of mistakes in life. And now I'm just thankful that I'm able to serve. You know what I mean? And I'm just thankful to be in the house, man. Any position or any title will do. You know, because I know what it feels like to be outside of the house. But humility doesn't always mean selfless. So what we're going to do, you know, as I answer this question, I'm going to try to speed it up. But I don't have nowhere to go right now. We already closed, right?
Right.
What is the definition of humility?
Humility means a modest or low view of one's own importance, humbleness.
What is the definition of humble?
As an adjective, it means having or showing a modest or low estimate of one's own importance. Do you want to hear the next one?
Yes.
As an adjective, it means of low social, administrative, or political rank. Want to hear the next one?
Yes.
As an adjective, it means of a thing, of modest pretensions or dimensions. Do you want to hear the last one?
Yes.
As a verb, it means lower, somewhat, in dignity or importance.
Okay. Now that's deep. To humble somebody, right? But a person who is humble doesn't mean that he's worthless. And that's what people a lot of times misinterpret that word. Or that mindset that a believer should be in. We believe a humble mindset is to be completely selfless and have no self-worth. Of course, you know, being in the Nation of Islam, under the leadership of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, our minister does not teach like that. He's constantly recognizing the God in us. So you know that's his whole, you know, attitude towards the believers. That's why he comes out in battle. Because he said he's bowing to the God that he sees in us. Very humble man. Humble in a good way. But he sees his worth. He knows who he is. He knows who our messenger is. But look how humble he is. But at the same time, he's confident. But still humble.
Right.
See, it's a balance, man. But you asked the question just now about the future. And the first thing I thought about, just to end this answer, or introduction, you know the introduction thing is always long. In the Final Call newspaper, the minister has been putting Savior's Day 2017 in the paper. Now, you know, I told you before, my birthday is something that's really jumping out at me now. I mean, I've been born February 1971. And it didn't mean anything to me, but we pay attention to numbers in Islam, right? We pay attention to the number 19 that represents Jesus's number was really Maryam in the Holy Quran talking about Jesus, the Savior, right? Minister Rodney just talked about that number 19, right? So numbers are very, very important. 2017, you have talking about the future right now. My mind is moving a million miles per minute, so I'm gonna try to slow it down. The minister said that have no fear for the future, for the future is ours. That was the title of Savior's Day, 2017, which is a powerful, powerful title, you know? We are Farrakhan. That's the future. is us, once we allow the process to be, completed, the process of a full resurrection, where we can be resurrected like our leader, then we can really be valuable, you know what I mean, to our people, because that's what our people need. Our people need to see an example of the power that's inside our minister. Just like Master Fard Muhammad was able to make the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad all up into himself, showing power. Now the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the Christ and has the power to destroy this place, given to him by the one who raised him up. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was able to put his mind in his servant, who is our leader today, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And now he got the power. And government is very, very afraid of the power that our leader has. Now what's next? Number 4, foundation. They are afraid of us, but not in our present state. You know what I mean? Because the process is not complete yet. So our future, once we study who we are, man, look at yourself. The minister is studying himself, learning what his name means. Study yourself. Look at your birthday. You know what I mean? Check out the name that your parents gave you. Find some value in you. It makes you a better believer. When you can see value in yourself, don't go overboard with yourself. But if you are worthless to yourself, you can't be worth anything to nobody else. You know what I mean? Yeah. A worthless believer, I can't see the minister being able to deal with that too much. That, too much of anything ain't good.
Right.
If you're too into yourself, of course he can't use that. But if you think too little of yourself, how can he use that?
Right. Right.
If he tries to use a person like that, eventually that person will turn on him and start blaming their self-less or worthless self on you.
Okay.
You know what I mean? They'll flip it when you don't see any value in yourself. So the future looks like a bunch of people who are coming into their own. I'll put it that way. The future looks like a group of people that know how to apply what the minister has given us properly, so that we can cover the 4 corners of the earth, man, and really do what God, Allah, wants us to do as a collective. You know what I mean? We already had the examples. Now we got to use or utilize what we learned from the example so that we can get out of this mess that we're in. Yep.
And you say the 4 corners of the earth, it brought me to something I was hearing the minister saying recently.
Okay.
About the universal scope of Islam is taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and how the mission includes the Native American brothers and sisters, Spanish-speaking brothers and sisters, on this side, brothers and sisters in the Caribbean, and it just seems like we're gradually taking steps towards it, but are we doing everything that we should be doing to have a more global impact? I mean, what could we be more doing? What could we do? Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm thankful to Allah that it's taking the time that it's taking, to tell you the truth, because when Allah starts speeding up the process, you gotta ask yourself. I ask myself. You don't have to ask yourself, but I ask myself, am I ready right now? Am I keeping up with Allah? Because to tell you the truth, the next stage is to lead people that ain't on point with this stage. I don't want to be left out, so I strive every day to do what I need to do, but I want Allah to take his time. The scripture says that we should not be hasty. We're taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan not to be hasty with this revelation, where we start asking for God to speed up the process. No, take your time. Because judgment is nothing that you want to be caught up in on the wrong side of.
Yeah.
So our people and our main work, which is the resurrection of the dead, our people are so far from being there from what I'm looking at. Because we have the majority still of our people don't recognize the value of the reminder and the mercy called Farrakhan. They don't really understand how Allah's mercy is wrapped up in that man. So you have many different ranks and many different degrees and levels. I just had a conversation with my son, and I was telling him to pick up the pace because the final call is real now. Muhammad is not speaking today like he was yesterday. Now it's a final call message, and the minister is that alarm. His voice is that trumpet that's telling you to either get on or be left. So when you just said what you were saying, this is how I'm tying that in. About our universal mission. Like the Bible, the universal mission was when Jesus told Paul to teach the Gentiles, to go to Rome. So that made the disciples now have to change the direction of what they were aiming at. Change focus on what they were aiming at. The focus went off of the children of Israel to the Gentiles. This is terms that we wouldn't understand today. That's why the Bible is written in that way, right? So how would you update the terminology? It was a message to the black man yesterday. Now, when you start talking more international, it's no longer just a message for the black man. Now we're looking at the rest of the world. So in the Bible, Matthew chapter 5, verse 19, Jesus says that when we, let me read it. Of course, some people won't interpret it like this, but how else can you interpret what I'm getting ready to read? And I'm here now. 5:19. I'll start off with 18. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one little, let me start again. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one title shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. So we're talking about fulfillment. Whenever you see that word, it's dealing with the last days. Verse 19. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven, but whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. Now this is deep. This is Jesus tightening up on his message and telling his people to get with it. Well, the minister is our mercy from Allah, representing the Christ that is representing Allah. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who's representing Allah. His teacher, Master Prophet Muhammad, who Allah appeared to us in his person, right? If we can't get down with this and understand this, you will be called least in the kingdom. Can you imagine coming into the Nation of Islam after your slave master? This is what conversation me and my son was having. My son and I were having. You would have to be called least in the kingdom. Is it classism? This is the question. Is it classism in the kingdom? Is it racism in the kingdom? Of course not. So how can you be called least in the kingdom? You made it to the kingdom, but you're still called least in the kingdom. The only way you can be called least in the kingdom is if you drag your feet with this commandment so long and so slow on responding that once the Caucasian people come into the nation, and you come in behind them, you'll look like a brother that never got it. It took your master to say that the minister was the reminder, and that the messenger is the Christ, and that Master Prophet Muhammad was the man who Allah chose to come to us in the person of. See, when they accept, and a very small remnant of them will accept, if that's what it takes to make you come in, you definitely ain't going to be called, you're not going to have an honorary position. You would have to be called least in the kingdom. So I'm asking the brothers, man, really, and the sisters, our people in general, the honorary position is still open because it's still a message to the black man. We got to act like we know. You know what I mean? So when we start talking about international message, dang, man, that means it ain't for you no more. Individually. You're not the apple anymore. See, when you tell somebody that you're the apple of my eye, that means I only got eyes for you. That's what Allah's saying. That's a beautiful song, but if you never respond to that, then that's not a good song. That got a bad ending. So come on to the nation while you're still the apple of Allah's eye. You know? That's what it makes me think about when we take the gospel throughout the whole world and spread it, because that's what it's talking about. Right? That's what you were talking about.
Right. When I think of the future, I think of Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about the building of a new civilization, and he talked about separating to be able to build this new civilization that will be based in the foundation of what's given to us by the Mahdi. So is that possible? Is that future possible given the current state that we see, black people in?
Is that future possible to do what? I'm kind of losing me a little bit.
If the work is to build a new civilization,
Okay.
right? Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about building a new civilization and separating.
A new world for the most part.
Right.
Right.
Given the state that black people are currently in,
Right.
is that possible?
And we talked about it before when we did our first interview and video on how we see black people when we were on 22nd and Jefferson. It's always possible when you're dealing with Allah. With man it's impossible, the scriptures say, but with God everything is possible, right? So I never say that it's impossible. You know, sometimes the Muslim world says that how can you say that Allah came in the person of Master Prophet Muhammad? Allah can't come in the person of nobody. Whenever you say can't and dealing with Allah, it's never going to fly right. Allah can do anything and anything is possible, but practical, stand with a practical mindset. Does it look like we're ready for a new civilization right now? I almost cursed. Heck no. It doesn't look possible, but that's what makes the victory so much sweeter. It doesn't look right for a person to die and come back. That doesn't look possible either. The resurrection of the dead, that's what makes it such a miraculous feat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's because you don't look like you can be brought back.
Right.
The Million Man March didn't look possible. You know what I mean? To get a bunch of disunited Negroes together on a Monday, just the men, and answer the call of a Muslim, but all of them were, 75% of them was Christian. You look crazy saying that he's going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
He ended up doing it.
And the men too. That's what's deep.
Right.
It's
You
hard
can't
to
just
get,
say everybody come.
It's hard to get black men to
To
do
listen
it.
to it. That was a miracle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a miracle. Now, it ended up being not only a miraculous sign of what we're going to be, because it didn't take long for the minister to pull it together. But like I said in that same video that we just did on 22nd and Jefferson, man, this is a little quick homework assignment for us as black people. Pay attention to what Allah God did. Go back and look at that Million Man March. You don't have to watch the whole thing. The Day of Atonement is what it was called, right? But look at the age bracket of the first march for the minister, 1995, October 16th. There's a lot of gray hair out there.
Okay.
So that first march represented the donkey. And he rode into town like Jesus on the donkey. 40 and up, unlearned masses of people. Of course, some young people, I was there. I wasn't 40 and up, I was a young bull, but it was mainly an older crowd. You know? And just to not go into that too long, we'll do that maybe another time. But it said that Jesus rode into town on, I believe that's Matthew, we talked about that before, 21, on a donkey and a young colt. Now, how do you do that? How do you do that? You only got one backside. I mean, I know you bad man, you can walk on water, but to have two things that you riding on, I don't know if he can pull that one off. You know what I mean? I'm only looking because I want to make sure. Matthew 21. Hold on for 1 second. I want to make sure. Yeah, Matthew 21. It's always good to read the whole chapter. But he was on a donkey and a young colt. So what was he doing? Some trick riding? You know what I mean? What does it mean? And that's why I love the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because he turns the water into wine and gives it meaning. The donkey is the unlearned masses of people, and the young colt would be a younger group of people. So when you look at 10, 10, 15, check out the crowd. It was young college students, very little gray hair. I hope I'm not digressing too much, but hope you can remember where we were going, because you know what you were asking me. I know this is a little off, but it just kind of reminded me of what we're talking about right now. What I'm saying with this young colt and this donkey. Very little gray hair, and it's because the narrative was different. The narrative was justice or else. Older people started asking the minister, "What you mean or else? You don't want to do no work, and you definitely don't want to fight." So or else sounds a little, a little rowdy, and that just killed the older crowd right there.
Okay.
The younger crowd came out ready, rowdy, ready to get hurt. I'm so thankful to Allah for his reminder, who was so skillful and loving. The minister gave a lecture on justice or else that would calm you down, and still was able to go all into what he wanted us to learn. He talked about family. He talked about the or else, the boycotts, Allah, and judgment. But he said it in a way where he wouldn't get the young people hyped up to be slaughtered. That is called good leadership. That is called a caring leader who has vision, insight, foresight. Come on, man. Who else you gonna follow today? You know what I mean? You follow a man like that, you'll go to God following a man like that. But if you follow a man who has his own self-interest, that, you know what I mean? If that's what he's pushing, then you follow a man like that to hell, to death, which is hell. You know what I mean? So we should be so thankful, and we should be all in. That's why I'm so thankful for Allah blessing us to be able to do these videos, man. This is clear guidance. This ain't mess. Clear guidance and clear evidence and proof that what the minister teaches will wake you up and make you see the value of yourself. And it complements your creativity. It doesn't take anything away from it. But if you want to put me back on track, you can. But I know I digressed a little bit. I felt like I had to say that, brother.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So just to take it back for a second, because you made it initially. You started off by talking about knowledge itself.
Right. No, I don't remember that, but you can keep going. I didn't know that's what we were on. You talking from the very beginning. Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, knowledge yourself, talking about knowing who you are.
Right.
If you say knowledge yourself, I'm thinking you talking about who's the original man.
No.
No. Go ahead. I'm with you now.
Yep.
I'm back on track.
Because we're talking about the future, and I'm talking about the black woman now.
Gotcha.
That's where I want to go with it.
Yes, sir.
Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the woman is the foundation of the nation,
Right.
of a nation,
Right.
and that really the woman is the key. The black woman is the key.
Right.
So now, as we're looking at the future, I guess making a comparison, like looking at today and then looking at the future. Look at today. Look at the condition of everything that black women are dealing with today. You know what I mean? They're in professional life, right? And then with the black man kind of not being as present as we should be.
Mm-hmm.
So all these things that she's dealing with, but at the same time,
Mm-hmm. I'm listening.
having to be more independent in a sense, without having any support or not the proper support. So now, how does that look today, and then how will it look gradually moving towards the future for her? And then for her firstly, and then secondly for us as a collective,
How does the woman's future look?
how does it look for her,
Right.
that transition from what we see today,
Right.
moving towards the future?
Okay.
And then collectively, how does it look for black people as a collective?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that's a rough question, but I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, again, we deal with reality.
Mm-hmm.
It looks pretty bad for her today, just
Right.
like it looks bad for the man. To be totally honest.
Right.
I mean, if you that's my type. That's my type. Does that look like a bright future?
Nah.
If you Megan Thee Stallion and you big old freak.
Mm-hmm.
What does the future look like to a big old freak? Does it look good? See, so we like to really be practical and clear.
Yeah.
So that doesn't look good. But what happens if she hears the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and submits to them?
Mm-hmm.
And the second part of your question, when you say, what does the man look like?
Mm-hmm.
When you a silly, what's the boy, like you little boogie with a hoodie? A boogie with a hoodie?
Yeah.
A boogie with a hoodie don't look good like he got a goody future. His future don't look good.
Uh-huh.
Even though he got more money than I got, that's what you call yourself? So A Boogie with a hoodie Johnson. That looked like he tore up from the floor. I don't know his last name, but I don't believe a man that would wear a name like that has a good name for a last name. It would have to be a slave name at the end of hoodie.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, whenever we won't submit to the guidance from the guide that was sent to us by Allah, your future is not going to look good. Yes, no nation can rise any higher than its woman, right? That yes, she is the foundation of the new world that we are, by Allah's permission, going to bring in once we accept Allah's men that He sent us. See, that's a lot of love. Not even Allah's man at this point. Now Allah has men that He's sending. He has, like it says in Nehemiah 9 verse 27, He has saviors that He's sending us now. Not even just Master Farah Muhammad. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister of Farrakhan. He got Brother Kyle now. He got Brother Zebulon now. He got Minister Rodney, Minister Lamont, student in the ministry. You know what I mean? So he has many people, Minister Nori, Minister Dimitri, you know what I mean? Student ministers that are like saviors to the people. So we have a nation that we're building, and our nation will look so much better when our people accept their own and be themselves, man. There's power in numbers.
Okay.
The homosexual community was a very disrespected community, a joke of a community, right? They exercise unity. They're not even following what we would say is spiritual guidance. But look at what unity did with the homosexual community. How much respect they get because they have unity and power. not just with politics, because you know, politics when you don't have nobody to vote for is not too good. What makes politics good is unity. Because you can say, listen, we not playing, man. We all want this. And then you end up getting what you're pointing at. Because there's many, many numbers behind your finger. But when you all scattered and we can't agree on who's going to guide us or lead us, you're weak and you're a joke. Politically, you know, you're a joke. Religiously, you're a joke. And that's our problem, man. We need unity. And we know this already. But the foundation of our new nation, Al-Nisa, right? And that's what I just walked over there and looked at. Because we believe that, of course, Mustafa Muhammad is the one, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the second self of the one. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the reminder of those two. He's number 3. And what the Christians would call Trinity is those men that I just mentioned just now. And then number 4, because we are taught that God's man, Jesus, is styled as a woman. We are the woman, the foundation number that is going to give birth to this new world, man. So in the Holy Quran, chapter 4 is entitled Al-Nisa, the woman. That's deep that you even brought that up about her being the foundation of our new world. But she can't be Megan Thee Stallion. She has to be Al-Nisa.
Okay.
She has to have a divine name and stand for divinity before we can have a proper future. You know what I mean? And a prosperous future. But if she doesn't change, then we don't have a good future. She doesn't anyway. And any man that doesn't change, he doesn't have a good future. So that's how I see that.
Okay. So would you say, 'cause foundations is a couple of things.
Right.
I mean a few things, but you before you were talking about the number 4 representing foundation.
Right.
You know, so like the Mahdi being the one,
God.
right? Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister Farrakhan, and then 4 being the foundation.
Right.
Meaning like us.
Right.
Right. So what is the work in the sense of that foundation number 4? What is the work of number 4?
I love that question. The work of number 4 is to bring to life what the number 1, 2, and 3 was teaching. See, the work of number 4 is the reality of number 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? Just in case somebody that's listening doesn't know what I mean, I'm talking about the 1 being Mustafa Muhammad, and 2 the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and 3 being Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. These are 3 attempts, really, to get our attention.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
These are 3 chances that Allah God is giving us to accept His blessings, His glory, His kingdom. You know what I mean? His paradise. 3 attempts to get our attention. Well, number 4 is the foundation of the people. No matter how big or small the number is, that's going to be the people that do accept. And even if it's 100 people, or like the Bible says, 144,000. That's going to be the people that are the foundation for this new world. And we, like our messenger, now Messiah, and our reminder, but mainly the messenger, because he wants us to be. That's what he actually said this. But of course, whenever I say the messenger, I'm always talking about the minister too. But the messenger wants us to beat this poor number, this sad number. You know what I mean? He wants us to beat this poor prophecy. I believe he said, of just 144,000 people that are saved.
Right. Okay. Did you have something else?
Not really.
All right.
Not really.
Because I heard what you said. I'm gonna move in a slightly different direction
Okay.
now too. I want to talk about poverty. Poverty. I once heard the brother was sharing with me. Actually, our brother Abdul was sharing. I love talking with brother Abdul.
Yeah, shout out to Brother Abdul.
Yeah, man, it goes
Hard-working brother who lives up to
Yeah,
his name.
Yeah.
Servant of Allah, Abdullah.
And he was he from time to time, brother would call me and just drop something on me. So he was sharing how you know, like one thing the minister pains him that like brothers and sisters will give their lives for the minister and they love the minister, you know what I mean?
Right.
But that it pains him to see that, you know, we're not, like, we don't have the same enthusiasm when it comes to believing in self. Almost like what you said in the beginning about being able to value oneself.
Right.
So one of the symptoms of that is like, you know, like poverty. You know what I mean? Like physical poverty, where it's, you don't believe in yourself and therefore you know, you're not really manifesting.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're not manifesting because you know, for you, you can't see. So, talk about that a little bit. I mean, because we're still talking about the future.
I got you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's deal with the future. Because the
Okay.
scripture is in my head right now.
Okay.
Praise be to Allah. See those Beatitudes, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they call it in the church, the Beatitudes.
Mm-hmm.
Blessed are the peacemaker. You know, blessed are the pure in heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it also says, blessed are the poor in spirit, for they will inherit the kingdom of God.
Mhm.
That's the future. So a people that's been reduced to nothing is going to be the ones that are going to be put on top.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we're going to be the winner, alive or dead, like we said before. But we individually, we want to be a part of that number. We may not make it individually, but our people will make it, like Dr. Martin Luther King said, to the promised land, right? But blessed are the poor in spirit. What does that mean? It means what you were just describing. Poor in spirit, when you don't see yourself as anything good, right? I believe it was, and we're going to get it. We always going to get it. A group of people that the scriptures are pointing out. Isaiah, I believe it's 65. People, and I turn right to it. Oh yeah. I am sought of them that ask not for me. I am found of them that sought me not. I said, behold me unto a nation that was not called by my name. We didn't know the name of Allah. Our names was taken, so our godly names were taken from us. We didn't have Hakim anymore after 400 years of slavery. We didn't have Hakimah. That was stripped from us, right? And we were turned into niggers. Excuse the expression, but that's what happened. Nigger meaning an ignorant person. Negro meaning something without growth or dead, right? So we were spiritually murdered in this country. And then they gave us a murderous name to make mockery out of our murderous state. And we were so dead to self that we ready to forgive them before we even find out what they did to us. They stole everything from us. We ready to forgive them before we found out what they took. Because that's how little value, that's how much value we don't have for self, you know? So the scriptures is talking about blessed are the poor in spirit, for they will inherit the kingdom of heaven. Because God, when he came, he was looking for the people that was not looking for him. The scholars in Islam, Iran and other places looking for the Mahdi. The Jews in Jerusalem looking for the Messiah. The Roman Catholic Church, the Christians looking for the Jesus figure, who is the Messiah, who is the Christ. But the black people in the hood, the minister told us to go get our people, man. So we went to Wilson. We went to the Stinger Park. We went all up and down Tasker Street, Fifth Street. Were they looking for God? Why? I'm not asking you the question. I'm going to answer the question that I'm asking. Because I know you like me to answer your question and don't ask questions. But they weren't looking for God because they were robbed of everything. So they felt like nobody loved them enough or cared about them enough. That that a person would actually come and try to do anything to help them out. They had more allegiance to their own gang members because the gang members showed more love than their own parents. So when you're in a condition like this, your spirit is all the way poor, man. But God would come to a people that have been reduced to nothing, announcing his coming, fixing a person that nobody can fix. The resurrection of the dead takes God, right? So if the dry bones start shaking like they did in 1995, October 16th, that means God is present. See? If those same bones or the same race of people, the young people come out in 10, 10, 15. See what I'm saying? That's telling you that God is still here, fulfilling scripture, gathering the young colts, gathering the donkeys, the unlearned masses of people, showing you that if we did it once and did it twice, then why can't we do it every day of our lives?
Got it.
That's it.
Okay. Still on the theme of the future, moving forward, right?
Yes, sir. Let's stay there.
So I'm thinking about a couple of things I heard Minister Rodney talk about.
Okay.
About being on the right track, right?
Right.
When you're on the right track, it can accelerate you and get you to where you need to be.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So, like, at the same time, he was talking about, like you have motion and then you have order. So I'm kind of like bringing those two ideas together.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because when you're in motion, if you don't have order, you're not going anywhere, right?
Well, you're not going in the right direction. You're tearing up. See,
Right.
that's what he was basically saying yesterday. Motion without order is destruction.
Right.
See, let me give you a picture or a quick example of motion without order. If you turn the lights out and start running real fast, that's disorderly, brother. You know what I mean? What's the chances of you getting any good result like that?
Right. Right.
So the order would first be light
Yeah.
has to be shined so you can see which way you're going.
Yeah.
And if you want to speed up and do the work that you need to do, you must do it while the lights is on. So the Bible says work while it is now light. You know what I mean? That way you can utilize both those words. You know what I mean? Motion in order.
Right. Motion order. So I mean, but how does that apply to us, like moving towards the future?
We must pay attention to the light. The light is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He is our light right now. You don't have to look far. He's there. He's right now. He's guiding right now. The light. What is that? Holy Quran 24? Al-Nur? Al-Nuri? We just want to make sure. But it's Al-Nur. The light. Yes, sir. I just want to make sure. I don't want to make your job hard. But that's it.
24.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You don't want to have to correct anything.
Right.
The book is too close for us to have to go through that.
So following the guidance. So what are the consequences of not following the said guidance?
Look, you won't follow somebody. If you're not following the light, then you're following the dark. And the consequence is running into something. When I say running into something, see, people that's been following twisted up leadership sometimes look like they were doing better than the ones that was following right leadership. Well, that was because of the time, brother. You know, we're dealing with time today, right?
Right.
Well, the devil was running things. Look how long they believed that the earth was flat. You know what I mean? Well, if you believe that today, you look like a damn fool. I don't even want to get into that.
Right, yeah, that's a whole...
But I will say this. if you have a flat surface and there's no gravity in space, and we know that the earth is filled up with water, right? And the earth is spinning 1,037 1/3 miles per hour. Can you imagine spinning or something flat with water on it? We deal with it. We ain't even going to deal with that. That's how ridiculous that is. But following twisted up leadership, you'll look like a fool today. That's the point that I'm making. But back in the day, we were able to get away with that. But now that we are being guided into all truth through the minister, you can't get away with that madness today. Fake religion is being judged today. The Bible said judgment starts first in the house of the Lord. 1 Peter chapter 4. Read the whole chapter. Judgment starts first in the house of the Lord. In other words, we are living in the day of truth, and you can't gag people today. Not want to say this pastor's name. Brother's on his way to the shop tomorrow. He told me that his pastor said that he doesn't like the fact that people bring iPads to church now. He said he doesn't like the fact that people are double checking what he's saying on their phones today. It's not even like he's saying he's angry that they're preoccupied. This particular pastor is angry that he feels like they're double checking what he's saying. Okay, well, if your people is double checking what you're saying, I beg you to double check what I say. I'm not just blurting out scripture. I want you to check it. I want you to read it. That's why I don't even give verses. You want to find out how judgment starts first in the house of the Lord? I'm not telling you the verse. You read the chapter. 1st and 2nd Peter is not that long. You know what I mean? You really should read both books, because I'm not in the spirit of an antichrist. See, the spirit of the antichrist doesn't want you to double check nothing. He's never going to point you to scripture. And he's never going to encourage you to pray to your Lord and ask for understanding and guidance, and then read these scriptures so you can get the most out of it. He's going to try to get you to roll with his little understanding and then leave it at that. You know? But we are living now in a day of truth. And truth is so clear today. You can't get away with falsehood, man. You asking, the question is, what is the penalty? You know? The penalty is being made to eat your own fake words. Your lying bed. Not your lying like lying down. You lied. And now you have to lay in that lying bed that you made for yourself. Teaching people about a mystery God. Mystery God worshipers are very uncomfortable today, because mystery God teaching doesn't make any sense at all. Especially when you're living in a world that you can get the answer in 2 seconds. You see what I'm saying? So it's not floating today. It floated. It was afloat yesterday. God is a spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Who's talking? The man that you say is God. See, it just don't make sense today. What are you saying? You saying Jesus is God in one breath, and now you saying God is a spirit in the other breath. Well, what is the answer? What's the truth? I ain't never see a man that was walking around that didn't have a spirit. Unfortunately, I've seen loved ones pass away. And I looked at the man that I love so much. You know, we had loved ones that passed, family members that passed. I'm thinking about a family member that I'm not even going to go into it, because I don't want to just revisit what happened, or bring other family members that may be watching, bring them into that. We all had family members that passed away. I looked at the man that I loved, or the woman that I loved, without the spirit. And I didn't feel anything from what I was looking at. It was almost like, I'm not going to say that, but it wasn't the same feeling. because one without the other is not really worth too much. And I'll say that because I don't believe anybody wanted to take them home.
Right.
If you were able to take them home, you wouldn't. Because the very essence of the man that you cannot see, and if you don't have a clear understanding of what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is saying when he said that God is a man and we can't see him as being anything else but that, if you don't understand that those words is really giving light to John chapter 4, verse 24, God is a spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. If you don't understand that the man is both flesh and spirit, something's wrong with your understanding. I'll humbly say that. You're missing the message. You can't run off talking man without putting spirit to the man. And you can't run off talking spirit without putting the flesh to the spirit. That is the house of the spirit. That's what we're saying. So I'm looking at you twofold. Flesh and spirit. Perfectly entwined. Perfectly connected to each other by Allah. Because only he can connect your spirit to your flesh. See what I'm saying? That's the way he set it up. So what does it look like? When you're not following proper guidance, it looks like confusion. And in previous videos, we talked about confusion being a magnet for demonic thinking. Remember? Confusion brings demons, and the way you cast out demons is with clarity. So a life without proper guidance is a life of confusion, easy for demons, a magnet and a sponge for demons. A demonic life is what I see for a person that's not following proper guidance and doesn't have light in their life so they can clearly distinguish which way to go. And be guided by the guide who we have. I don't know anybody else who's claiming to have the guide through this dark hour.
So you, but you mentioned clarity.
Right.
Now, what about when you, so clarity casts out confusion, in other words.
Right.
Now, what about, because it's one thing to be confused, but then earlier today we were also talking about character flaws that exist in people.
Right.
What casts out character flaws? Because we're still talking about
I get you.
moving towards the future, right? And the ultimate plan is for Allah gradually intends to, perfect humanity.
Right.
A part of that process would be the character of people will have to gradually be increased. So what casts out character flaws?
See, a tumultuous life. I was reading in the Holy Quran that word tumult came up. A tumultuous life, reckless, violent life, right? Is what comes from, not having that kind of clarity. You said in character defects, right?
Yeah, character flaws.
Right, character flaws. What the only thing that can fix that would be law. See, law is literally for the lawless. Law will make somebody who look like they got flaws not have flaws. You know what I mean? And that's why Jesus said the scribes and Pharisees and Sadducees, they were like whited sepulchres. They looked good on the outside, but the inside was dead man's bones. Law made twisted people look right. So mixed up interpretation, they say, well, this is why Jesus came. Now that we have Jesus, our weaknesses, our infirmities, and all of that stuff, he died for our sins and makes us look like we follow this law right. See, all of this madness. The words are correct, but the understanding is not. See, when you accept the blood of Jesus, the life of Jesus, and of course when I say Jesus, I'm talking about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan today. He will give you fulfillment to the law, but that's going a little faster than what you're asking me. But to slow it down and back up a little bit, a twisted up character can be fixed or helped with law when you apply the law. Here's an example of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Minister Rodney, I believe, just touched on it a few weeks ago. See, it's good when you listen to you for you really to absorb what he's teaching. He used our planet as an example, which is what the messenger teaches us to do. The messenger teaches us through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that the earth has a wobble in it. It's egg-shaped. It's spinning, but it has a wobble in it. They learned how to make cars ride smoother, I believe, from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that they stole. That we raised up mountains in the earth, right? So that the earth would not have the wobble, and we feel the wobble. Like they learned how to put weights on the tire, right? So it wouldn't be a rough ride. So the wobble was compensated with mountains being used as weights, and how Sister Ava was just breaking down. That's the reason we don't climb Mount Everest. You know what I mean? We leave Mount Everest alone because when a bunch of idiots is climbing Mount Everest, that's changing the weight of that particular mountain that keeps the earth, having a smooth ride where you don't feel the wobble right now. But we're spinning 1,037 1/3 miles per hour right now, and you don't feel this great big earth spinning at that terrific speed, right? So it is with our lives. It was a lecture that the minister gave called, really he said it was supposed to be called, he ended up talking about the will, but it was supposed to be called A Struggle for Balance. And when you apply the law to your life, it will balance all of those twisted up characters. And you will learn, if your heart is right, how to do away with that. But it's only through law and following the law and acknowledging your flaws. Because if you're not using the law to fix your flaws, the flaws ain't going nowhere. So the big thing is you got to acknowledge what your weaknesses are. And a lot of us don't do that because the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the eye sees everything but itself. And that's our problem. Can't fix what you don't know exists.
Praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir. Ain't nothing better than a straight question and a straight answer, right?
That's right. That's right. Straight talk.
Right.
What does the future look as far as this might get a little bit I don't know, a little bit heavy, but
Come on and throw it, bro.
alright. Like sometimes I think of like for a new world, a new civilization coming into. I mean, that means like different institutions.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like different types of hospitals, different types of schools, like all these types of things. When you think about like institution building, and I know that's a very general, topic. I mean, because that can go in a few different directions.
Right.
Does anything come
We'll
to
work
you?
it out.
Okay. Does anything come to your mind straight away when you think about a new world coming into play and new institutions being built based on that new way of thinking?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, something comes to mind.
Okay.
Moses comes to mind. Egypt comes to mind, which is really translated properly as a place of bondage. That's what Egypt means, house of bondage, place of bondage, right? And that's America today. This is the present day Egypt. And we are the fulfillment of Abraham in Genesis 15. But when you talk about these institutions, see, like the Egyptian, like Moses and his people, we've learned everything that we need to know to make a new kingdom run properly. If you go to these institutions, you may not find a bunch of people that think like we think, that have the mind of Farrakhan, the mind of the messenger, the mind of Muhammad, the mind of the Mahdi. But they're still running these factories, these industries. It's being ran by us too. You don't see too many without seeing us there.
Right.
So if we already know how to run it, we just got a twisted up way of looking at things, a twisted up understanding of God. just what I see is us accepting our own
Mm.
and being ourselves
Mhm.
and being able to do what we already doing
Mhm.
for our own selves instead of for the enemy.
Right. Wow. Okay. That was smooth.
Praise be to the Lord. That's how I see it.
I'm good.
So we can do it.
Right. Because we're already doing it. We
Yeah.
just have the wrong.
Right. Mind
Yeah. Yeah.
and aim
Mhm.
and purpose.
Mhm. Okay. Well, do you have any closing thoughts or anything else you want to kind of touch on?
Oh man. I always have to come up with something, man, because I noticed that the videos, it seems like the last part is always a bomb. You know, if you get used to dropping bombs at the end, I can't stop that. I would have to, let's talk about, I believe it's 1 John,
Mhm.
maybe chapter 4, since we're talking about the future and we're talking about building a new world.
Mhm.
I want to make sure I'm quoting this right.
Mhm.
Where does the Bible say that you can tell that you've gone from death into life because you have love for the brotherhood?
Here's what I found.
Yeah, and it's 1 John chapter 3,
Okay.
not chapter 4. So we know that we have passed out of death into life because we have love for the brotherhood. So we can deal with that as a closing thought, because this is what the minister wants us to do. Do you notice almost every time he gives us a believers meeting that one of the main things he keeps on leaning toward and touching on is us loving ourselves
Mhm.
and treating ourselves somewhat the way we treat him?
Yeah.
Because he notices that we don't treat ourselves the way we treat him.
Mhm.
We don't demonstrate the love that we demonstrate with him, with ourselves. And like any parent, parents don't like to see. Just think about this. You're not a parent yet, but when you become a parent, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. It doesn't feel good for the children to compete.
Mhm.
It doesn't feel good for your children or the children to compete for mommy or daddy's love. And sometimes it can get a little violent and it get a little rough even.
Mhm.
Jealousy and hatred can be formed. If you feel like mommy loves Kyle better than Z,
Mhm.
daddy, his favorite one is, Z instead of Kyle or whatever. That's not a good feeling
Mhm.
for any parent. But nothing warms a parent's heart more than looking at the children play together well
Mhm.
and be happy with each other and love each other, man.
Mhm.
So lately I've been thinking about the minister being rewarded, man. I cannot get the minister being rewarded out of my mind.
Mhm.
Some say he's been rewarded over and over again. I say he should be rewarded that much more, even more and more. And I've learned that the reward of the minister is just watching us grow.
Mhm.
You know? The reward of the minister is when we love ye one another. Not as we love him, but even better than we love him. So I just want to give our minister the reward that will warm his heart and make him know that when he takes his next step, that we got this thing, man. Do you know businesses won't make him think that we got it? Do you know a beautiful mosque is not only something that will make him know that we got it? Owning our mosque, having our own businesses and all of these things. But loving one another will make him know that we got it. And whatever Allah does with him, he can leave with a clear conscience. He can leave with his chest poked out, knowing that his sacrifices weren't in vain, were not in vain. But can you imagine over 60 years of dedication, loyalty to his teacher, and sweat, blood, and tears given to his people, and for us to be still talking about that's my type? See, I can't even laugh at that, because I love the minister, and when you love him and know him, I feel his pain. That would have to be a painful feeling. You know what I mean? You literally have to laugh to keep from crying. But we must wake up and show him that we're no longer dead Negroes. You know what I mean? But we have truly come from death into life, because we have love for the brotherhood and the sisterhood because of what he taught. That being able to quote scriptures and being able to have your own nation and being able to do all of these earthly things is not the only thing that we know how to do, even though we're not even doing that as much as we should. But we can turn this around overnight if we just start loving each other. And all of those other things will come. You know what I mean? When you seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, everything else, and all its righteousness, can't leave that out. Everything else will be added to us, right? So, of course, some of the righteousness would have to be the fulfillment of what we were talking about earlier, which is law, right? The law will make you look like you don't have these character flaws. You just said it.
Right.
But how can you go to the next level? Law will make a person that ain't right look right, but love will make a person who don't look right really be right. You know what I mean? So if we exercise that type of love, that would be us exercising the actual fulfillment of law. You know? So I like to use that as a final thought. And you can add if you want. You can add if you want to that final thought.
Okay.
Sometimes I feel like I kind of sparked something.
Just I like how you tied it into love.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like that, you know, it goes back to where love can overcome all things.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we're proper
Fear and
love.
everything else.
Right. So in regards to character flaw, I'm thinking like, you know, if it starts off, Muhammad Elijah Muhammad started us off with knowledge of self, which we continue to strive for.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then with knowledge of self also comes with love for self.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when you have love for yourself, it gives you that what's necessary to humble yourself. And I think with that, you know, character flaw, accepting correction, overcoming personal challenges and personal issues. But I think that comes with self-love as well. But I think that you know, what you said about love is 100%.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah.
So love for self is key.
Love in general is the key, because love is the way we're supposed to live. Love is life. In the scriptures, 1 John again, it says that God is love, and I believe that is chapter 4. And that's very powerful and heavy in itself, to say that God is love. And like the minister said, when you look at the equation that John is pointing out, there's an equal sign between the two words, God and love, right? There's an equal sign between God and love. Now watch this. Where is it in the Bible where it says that God is love? Where is it in the Bible where it says that God is love?
Here's what I found.
Here it is, 1 John chapter 4. I ain't telling you the verse. But God is love. And love is God. See, that's the balance there. That's the balance. So whatever's on one side of the equation, the minister taught us, is equal to what's on the other side of the equation. You see what I'm saying? So when you say God is love, man, we did a video a few weeks ago when we looked up the name, right? Or the title or definition, I'm sorry, of the word love, and how they completely distorted the definition of love. And that's why we have a distorted understanding of love. So if you have this twisted up worldly view of what love is, if 1 John chapter 4 is saying that God is love, then you have a distorted understanding of God. Because if God is a tender emotion, you know what I mean? We got a problem.
Yeah.
Can you remember?
Oh, we got serious.
Yeah, you remember those definitions?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was pretty bad, right? We got a serious problem. If the definition that they say love is what we supposed to serve and worship.
Yeah. Tender emotion.
Yeah. We bunch of tenderonis. So no, that cannot be what love is. The real definition of love is in the book of 1 Corinthians. When Paul was talking to the Corinthians for the first time. Chapter 13. And just like we were talking about how these new Qur'ans that are in English is twisted up where they take certain words out and add certain words to. Chapter 55 is supposed to be the beneficent. But the particular Holy Quran that I showed, it took out the word beneficent because it was implying that the beneficent is dealing with a man, a person. So they took that out and they put
the most gracious.
the most gracious. No, not this particular Holy Quran. This particular Holy Quran said merciful.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the chapter was entitled The Merciful.
Okay.
And the first verse of that chapter, I believe it says, in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, right? But it said in the name of Allah. I said, what are you supposed to say? The merciful, the merciful? Because all the other Holy Qur'ans, that word was inside our words that we say before we go into the chapter.
Right.
We always go into the chapter, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Right.
In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful.
Right.
So it would have to be a different word.
Yeah.
Why would it have merciful there twice? So they tamper with it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing they do in 1 Corinthians chapter 4. I'm sorry, 1 Corinthians chapter 13 with the word love. Same thing, Kyle. Same thing. What did they do? They took out the word love and put charity. But when you look at the new translations, the NIV, see, they always give you a new version that they'll catch you and say, oh man, I like the way this reads. Reads a lot better because it's talking about love. Man, that makes more sense. For love to be kind, for love to be long-suffering, and love to be forgiving, and all of the stuff that's in that chapter. You know what I mean? Long-suffering. That's the action word of love. Sometimes people do things that ain't right. Look at how much love the minister has for us. Look how much long-suffering he had to exercise for us. And look at what we still doing. But somehow, the love of Allah that he shows us, he doesn't waver, you know? He continues to love a people that won't love him the way he loves them. Because he has patience with us. How much patience do we have with him? You know? So love is not a tender thing only. Love hurt. You know what I mean? So I don't want to drag it out too long, my brother. I did want to finish your cut up so everybody can see how good it finally came out. But I think we can stick a pin in it right there. Our final thought is to love you one another even as our man today is loving us. See, we got somebody today that we can pay attention to. For my Christian brothers, love ye one another even as Jesus has loved you. But here's the thing. And like I said, we're living in a day where falsehood is being erased. Just a nickel's worth of advice. A little word to the wise. I love Jesus. But I must tell you, physically I never met him. I love Jesus. Spiritually, I feel like I know him because I read his word. But I can't say that the Jesus of the Bible physically loved me in my life because I never had the honor of being in his presence. Because I'm 2,000 years after he walked the face of this earth. So I can't brag about the direct love from Jesus because he's not here. And that's the reason we bring up the minister. Because the same kind of love that the Jesus who walked the face of this earth, who the Muslims call the prophet Jesus, is that same kind of love that our man today, who is the reminder of him, is giving us. So we can stop with that.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Praise to Allah.
Yeah, well played. Well,
Yep.
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum salam, brother Kyle.
Yes, sir.
On to the next one, brother.
Right. Yes, sir. Once again,
Once again, brother.
you put every hair follicle, every strand of hair in its proper place. Praise be to Allah.